call to order the Fern Ridge School District Budget Committee. I guess it's for 24-25 because it was last year technically.
The minutes that you're approving?
Yes.
Yes.
So
the minutes are for
I guess we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Election or
yeah, we
selection.
can do that. We can do the minutes first.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from last year?
I know.
You have a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from last year's budget committee meeting.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. And now we need to select a not a president.
Chair and a vice
chair
chair.
and a vice chair.
Yep.
So does anybody want to be out of the the two of you? Want to be a chair? Eric? Eric loves chairs.
Can he hear us?
Can you hear us, Eric?
Click on the participant thing right there, click on the participant thing. And it'll see if it's, so
Well, that one doesn't.
Attendee.
Oh, he's an attendee. Yeah, he's
you
there.
need to bring them as a panelist.
Yeah, you need, I don't think he can talk as an attendee.
Oh, great.
Just right click on it, see what happens.
Okay, let me see if I can figure this out.
I think he might.
Hold on. Allowed to talk.
Oh,
Eric?
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Sorry about that. Please do not hear us or talk.
I don't mind being vice chair. It's just harder to run when run a meeting when you're not in the room.
I'm fine doing it again if we can.
Sure.
All in favor?
Secret ballot.
Yeah.
I'm raising my hand.
Like somebody would need to make a motion
Yeah.
for Tori to be the chair and Eric to be the vice chair. We can just do it all in one.
Tori and Eric, Tori is chair and Eric vice chair for this process.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right, thank you all for coming. We have some new members, so maybe we could do some introductions.
Haley Herbert.
All right.
Krista Spencer.
Hey, folks. Gary, and thank you to our three new folks, well, two new folks, David and Eric, Tori and Eric. Thank you.
Juana Bennett.
Tori Macklin?
Lisa McCann. Andrea Larson.
And Eric's online.
And Eric Karlstrom.
So we'll
Now I
just,
think I hand it over to you, right?
yeah, I can take it from here. This is the agenda for tonight. We're just gonna go over an outline of the budget process. Discuss what is a budget and what the budget committee does and the budget committee roles and responsibilities. And then we have a small financial forecast to go over overview. So this just kind of shows the budget cycle. It's a long process. We are kind of right here appointing a budget officer. Next step is for me to prepare the budget. And then I have a date at the end of this as to when I'm going to get it out to you, but it's usually the week before the budget meeting. So you usually have a full week to review it and email questions in. And then after that occurs, we hold another budget meeting, and that is when the budget message is read. and that is when the budget is supposed to be approved. There is another meeting that can be held after that if necessary. And then in June, the budget goes to the board for final approval and adoption. And then these are kind of two important dates. The budget needs to be adopted by June 30th, obviously for us to start operating July 1st. And then July 15th is when the county must receive our tax levy forms. And a copy of that's always in the budget document, in case you're wondering what that's all about. Okay, so what is a budget? It's a financial plan with estimates of revenues and expenditures for a single fiscal year. Our fiscal year goes from July 1st through June 30th. The law, Oregon local budget law establishes the procedures for preparing, presenting, and administering the budget. It does require citizen involvement before a formal adoption can be made. Who is on the budget committee? The budget committee consists of school board members and an equal number of citizens. Board members are elected, citizens are appointed by the board. And the citizens serve 3 years on the budget committee. Sorry, that's slow. Okay, so the budget committee roles. You do hear the budget message. You hear and consider public comment, discuss and revise budget as needed, approve the budget, and approve the tax rate and levy amount. The budget committee does not set salaries, benefits, or contract terms, set staffing levels or organization structure decisions, decide if a program or service should be provided, or make or alter district goals or policies. All right, now we can dig into the financial forecast. Does anyone have any questions yet on any of that? Okay.
For the public comment, did we actually do that last year? Did we have public comment?
I don't know if we had any public comments last year. They send them in, they have up until, I don't know, it's 9 a.m. or 5 p.m. the night before. And I don't know if we had any public comments last year.
And does the community know that they can?
Yeah. It's on the agenda, just like a board meeting. Yeah. So the budget driver revenues, what we know, the 25-26 state school fund allocation estimate has been released. It's not been fully approved by the legislator, but the governor did release a budget for us to start estimating our budget off of. Our estimated enrollment is set for the following year. What we don't know, the impact of future changes in enrollment locally and statewide, and how it will impact the state funding and the weights, as well as grant allocation amounts. I suspect we won't know a lot of our grant allocation amounts by the time the budget needs to be prepared. So we're going to be doing a lot of estimating on that. All right, so the general fund revenue. This is our biggest fund, our main operating revenue. It's 98% of our annual operating revenue, actually. It includes the state school fund, property taxes, common school fund, county school fund, state and federal CHIPA revenue. The remaining 2% of general fund comes from interest, indirect grant charges, E-rate, miscellaneous fees. If we have any rental income coming in, things like that would cover the other 2%. It's highly dependent upon the economy and the state income taxes and property values. The revenue in 25-26 is based on the governor's proposed $11.359 billion budget that I mentioned earlier. This is just a graph of the last 3 bienniums. This is our upcoming biennium here, it was an increase of 11.37% from the prior biennium. That's the highest increase we've had since, I think, the 13-15 biennium. And enrollment. So all these enrollment numbers are actuals except for 24-25.
Lana,
Yeah.
can you go back?
Yeah.
Can you explain why the two values are a little different?
Yes, so 23-25 biennium and 25-27, the state school fund was split 49-51. So they released 49% of the funding in year one and then 51% in year two. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is just a history on enrollment. These are all actuals. 24-25, this is based off of the last estimate ODE put out, which I can tell you has changed since then. So that's not super accurate either. They will be putting out another one, but we don't have it yet. 25-26, these are our projected numbers for the proposed budget. Staying fairly stable, essentially. We're pretty much budgeting the same amount we had in our proposed budget for 24-25. Okay, so this is the extended ADMW. So we start with our ADMR, which is basically every student. And then the state applies weights to every student, depending on the demographics. And the state of Oregon pays as an extended ADMW, which means we're paid off the higher year of the 2 years. So in 25-26, we're actually going to be paid off of 24-25 numbers because they are currently higher. That could switch throughout the year. So every quarter, school districts are required to upload their enrollment numbers to ODE, and they assess them and they decide, okay, does this warrant a new estimate to go out or not? And at that point, that's when we would know, oh, our numbers have gone up. So maybe we're gonna be going off of this year's. A lot of unknowns. This year was very unusual. They did not put out a new estimate like they usually do in December because there wasn't enough changes to warrant it, I guess. So one thing I wanted to note on here, yeah.
Acronym ADMRW.
Yeah.
ADM.
ADM, average daily membership. And the R stands for resident, so what district you live in. And then the ADMW, it's basically the ADMR plus the weights added to the ADM. Does that make sense? Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out, just because it does affect our district quite a bit, is our biggest weight is the IEP students, which caps out at 11%. And as you can see, like this year, for example, that we have 1390, approximately ADMR, our 11% cap is at 152. Well, our December IEP numbers that we reported to the state was 303. So essentially, if there wasn't a cap, we would be receiving double payment on 303, not the 152. So we're quite a bit over the cap. Yeah. And the legislator's looking at changing that, but I don't know when that's, have you heard anything about that?
It'll be June, and what they essentially could do is say, okay, now we're paying off 15%. However, so for example, in our district, we have around 21% of our kids who are on an IEP. We get, is it 1.5 weight?
Double weight.
Double weight. So if for the first 11% of our kids, if the state give us $1 per kid, for the first 11% of our kids that are on IEP, they're giving us $2. But after 11%, they're just giving us back $2.
Okay.
So legislature's considering upping that cap. What I don't know is how that, if it will really change much at all. because the pot of money doesn't grow. Most districts are over 11%, very few are below 11%. So if it goes up, the only way it would affect us is if there's districts right at 11 or 12 or 13, and there's, you know, they don't get any more kids like that, and let's say they raise it to 15, well, then there would be more money in the pool, we would get a few more dollars. So I'm unclear how it will shake out,
Yeah.
but by June, that will either pass or not in the current legislature.
The other weights involved in it is students in poverty, students in foster care, and English language learners. Okay, so the knowns, classified is settled, their entire contract. Licensed is still negotiating. The DO group administrators follow the license negotiations. We hope to have the license wrapped up by the end of this month. So I'm hopeful that the proposed budget will include all settled COLAs and benefits, so it'll reflect actual costs.
We've, let me jump in there real quick, and I'll go to you, David. We started bargaining with teachers in January, mid-January. I think last night, well, Monday night was our 11th or 12th meeting. And then last night, just me and the president met to do some final paperwork. So we've come to agreement in principle. We just gotta do the paperwork now to catch up. My hope is that in the next few days that happens, and there's a chance that their contract will be on the board agenda for Monday night. So once that gets approved, then their COLAs and insurance cap contributions, all that will be locked in. What we've agreed to in principle is COLAs in the next 3 years of 4%, 3.5, and 3.25, which we're one of the first ones to settle in Lane County, other than Eugene, who settled at 5.55. I would anticipate that that where we fall in the realm of the county, certainly will be at the average, if not below the average. So anyways, it's good news that we were able to get there. Appreciate the cooperation with the union. And next week we should have more that that's done.
Okay, and then our PERS rates are changing quite a bit for this next, oh, I'm sorry, you had a question.
Oh, I'm just, so I do this once every year.
Yes.
And the acronyms really throw us for a loop. We've got new members, so if you wouldn't mind breaking down some of the acronyms. I know cost of living adjustment, COLA, but what's the DO group?
Sure.
OSPR, OPSRP.
Yep.
DO group, so that's a really good question. The board approves contracts with the teachers, because they're a union. It's a collective bargaining agreement. And the board approves contracts with the classified group, OSEA. And their benefits are collective bargaining agreement. We have other employees, the superintendent, I have a contract with the board, so it's just me and the board, or usually me and the board chair. Two other groups are the district office group, so that would be folks like Juana. Juana's not in a union, either certified or classified. Bree, my assistant, our tech director, the director of facilities, Amy Hand, our family resource person, Lisa Boyce, the group payroll. So there's about 7 or 8 people that are in this group that aren't in a collective bargaining agreement. Their agreement is with me, is with the superintendent. So typically, it's totally different than with the unions, right? Historically, what I've done is what we settled on with the teachers, that's the COLA they're getting. It's never higher. It's never been higher. In some cases, it's been lower. But typically, once I settle with the teachers, I'll tell the DO group, okay, here's your COLA the next 3 years. I might have a couple emails back and forth. Is there any language you want to change? Nope. Okay, they're good to go. I come to agreement with them on it. The board chair signs it, but it's not something the board passes at a board meeting. The other group is the principals, the administrators, of which we have 2 at high school, 2 at the middle school, each elementary, Miss Marshall, and our SPED director. So we have 8 in that group. Kind of same thing. They get the COLAs that the teachers negotiated. Very little language. We'll bounce out a couple emails. And then I imagine now, once we finish with teachers in the next couple weeks, I'll have their contract done. Those are both for 3 years. So We'll have to do that again with the DO group, or the administrators for another 3 years. We'll have to do the teachers for another 3 years. We still have 2 years left on the classified folks. I'll let you talk about PERS and OBSERV and all that.
So our PERS is the State of Oregon Retirement System. OBSERV is for members who joined, I think it was after 2000.
Good. Early 2000s.
Yeah, 3 or 4. They did away with PERS, and so anybody that became a Oregon, government employee at that time, they became OBSERV members. So that's what those mean. And the rates are going up quite a bit this next biennium. So you can see our PERS rates increasing from 13.37 to 17.60, and OBSERVs from 10.53 to 14.42. So an average of 4.06 of an increase. So just to give you an idea, if we had had those higher rates this year, it would have resulted in an additional cost of $515,000 on salary.
So what that, in kind of simple terms, for every dollar, we have our money that comes into our general fund. Correct me if I say anything wrong here. If we're paying an employee $1, we have to send the state of Oregon 13.37 cents. Okay. Now we have to send them 17.6 cents next year to help cover PERS growth rates, payouts for the future. So our PERS rates have been kept down because 20-ish years ago, we sold bonds to help keep them down, and now that those are running out and we can't do that anymore, and the market isn't in a spot where it's beneficial to us. Everybody's rates in the state have jumped. One of the things they're considering at the state level, like Juana said, that impacts us $515,000. So even if the state gave us $1 million more next year, the first 515, we're just sending right back to Salem. One of the things the legislature is considering now is they have a PERS reserve fund, and to help lower the impact on school districts, they're considering taking some amount of money out of that to help offset this jump. So it's something we track often, and it's the biggest increase I've ever been a part of.
So some of the unknowns enrollment, obviously that those could, come in higher or lower. The economy, the price increases for supplies, fuel, all our, operating expenditures. Out of district placements, we do our best to try to project what our out of district placements will be for the following year, but we frequently get students in a month into the year, or even sometimes 6 months into the year, that require a very expensive out of district placement. So that's one line item that's very challenging to budget for and can be very expensive.
Especially for smaller districts. For example, I don't think we have a number like 32 we have out of district placements right now.
I think we're at 25.
Okay, 25 district kids living within Fern Ridge that we feel we can't support, and so they're enrolled in a different program. Example might be a blind student. We currently have 2 deaf students that are in they need full-time interpreters. They're in a special classroom in Eugene. And those 25 kids, for example, this year, I think the number was 1.2, something like that. That's what we're paying for those 25 kids. There's kids that cost us over $100,000. So in a small district, if you get a kid that's, say, incoming kid, they're medically fragile, has a feeding tube, needs diaper changed, is in a wheelchair, doesn't talk, for us to support that kid, it would cost far more to get a nurse on staff all the time, multiple staff members trained, all medical supplies and equipment. We try to find a program that fits them, typically in the Eugene Springfield area, and pay for a slot cost to enroll in there.
And we do get, we can claim those students on a high cost disability report, but that pot of money is shared throughout the whole state. So and the more districts that file for these high cost disability reimbursements, the less districts get that do file. So as an example, I think ours last year, it was I don't know, 700,000-ish, and I think we ended up getting around $30,000 extra. Not a lot.
And what they consider 30,000 is the number for high cost disability, right?
Yeah, any student that costs 30,000 or more, you can claim them as a high cost disability.
So if we're getting $11,000, $12,000 per kid, but we're sending them to a program that costs $29,000, we're just on the hook for that. But if we're sending them to a program that costs $100,000, well, we have the 70,000 overage that we're paying above high cost, that falls into this high cost disability category. We would submit then that 70,000, say we just had that one kid, we got one kid we're paying $100,000 for, we would submit that 70,000, and they typically reimburse us like 40%.
Yeah,
But
it
that's
seems to be
70,000.
getting smaller and smaller, but I think that's because more districts are starting to do it. It's a lot of work to file the high cost disability
And stay
reports.
up on it,
Huh?
to stay up on it every
It
year.
is, it's a lot of numbers, you have to provide them and paperwork you gotta pull, but, and so some districts I know just didn't do it simply because they just didn't have the time and wanted to deal with it, but I think, you know, a lot of districts are in our boat where it's like, they need that money because they have very expensive out-of-district slots.
Are people familiar with paid leave Oregon and?
Yeah, what was our percentage here? I mean, a lot of employees do it.
More and more.
Yeah, we have quite a few, yeah, so that can be impactful, as far as the more utilization, the higher the rate
Yeah.
goes,
And then you pay a sub.
and the sub costs, yeah. So, we're paying sub costs, plus we're paying out some of their paid leave too.
So you guys do that in the budget. You guys put that in there for the paid leave. Okay.
Yep.
Question on the kids that go, why, how do I wanna word this? If those kids need that care at that school, that learning, why isn't there just like why doesn't the state just have open enrollment for those children to go where they need to go for the schooling they need? I'm curious, why does our district have to pay another district for
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and then ask for reimbursement?
yeah, and I don't,
Do you know what, I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
I don't know all the details behind it, I do know they go with whoever the resident district is, so if they are in our Fern Ridge, Benita, Walton area, this is considered their resident school, so we're required to care for them and provide.
And we do essentially have open enrollment. I mean, anybody that lives anywhere in Lane County, if they want to go to any public school, they can go there. So we really, any kid that asks to go to Crow or Eugene or Springfield or whatever, we release them. Any kid that wants to come here, as long as it's not in an elementary grade level where we're like, "Eesh, the elementary teacher's gonna kill me if I accept another second grader," then we accept them. But it is problematic, you know, 8 or 10, we used to send a lot more kids out to our most impacted behavior kids, went to Lane School. And maybe 8 or so years ago, I felt like, A, we could probably do it a little bit cheaper, and B, those kids often, it isn't like it's not that they're deaf or they're blind, it's something we hopefully we can accommodate and start to overcome and train and learn. So that's when we created our Bridges classroom, so the K-2, 3, 5, 6, 8. So all those kids in some districts who don't have those programs, they send them in town. The current slot cost for one kid at Lane School next year, we just went up to $76,000. So you think if we have a K-2 room with 8 kids in there, you know, that's over $500,000 if we were just sending them in the school in town, while we're doing it with a teacher and 3/8. And it's a big, obviously, benefit to the kid and families that they're not getting on the bus for 45 minutes into town. But for some of the kids, transitions and life skills, it's not a program. We have so few kids. You know, we might have, how many kids in life skills do you think we have this year?
4.
Yeah, so when we have a 3rd grader, a 7th grader, a 9th grader, an 11th grader in life skills, that's just a program we can't put together. And so that is our best option. We try to balance, you know, serve as many kids as we possibly can. Also understand just the finances of it. Some of these kids, for us to serve them here, it would be 2 or 3 times what we're paying for that stuff.
You can cap how many we send out, right? You can limit that,
No, not anymore.
not special ed, but like if people want transfers out, you can limit that, is that right?
No, the only way we can limit it is, is to online schools
Oh, right.
if we
That's what I said.
offer an online program. So during COVID, when we had typically it's always been my philosophy, if somebody wants to go to another district, best of luck. We would release them. During COVID, when we started our own online program, when they wanted to go to an online program, we'd release them. That's what's best for you and your family. Go into an online program, we'd release them. When for a few years, we had a K-12 online program, and with the uncertainty of COVID and enrollment and all those things, we denied. So release them to go to the public school. We need to, with open enrollment in Oregon. But there's a cap, I want to say it's 3% or 4%, that we have to release to online virtual. Once we hit that cap, we could deny them if we offered our internal program. Now, we phased it out. First, we got rid of elementary, then we got rid of middle school, then this year we got rid of 9th and 10th graders. Our online options program is just for 11th and 12th graders. So we're releasing high school kids. Next year, it'll be just for 12th graders. And then the following year, we'll be out of that business. I think that's it.
And then grants. So grants are unknown, like I mentioned earlier. They could come in higher or lower. All grants are restricted actually, and we do have specific employees paid out of all of those grants. So if those grants were to come in lower, we either have to shift their funding to general fund, or we have to, eliminate that position. So that's a big unknown right now.
It's our biggest one, Title I?
Yeah.
So Title
Well,
I,
that's our biggest federal,
right.
not our state.
The federal grants are the ones that are most up in the air. I just was in a meeting this morning and spoke to Todd Hamilton, Superintendent of Springfield. He was a part of a group that spent the last week in Washington, DC, meeting with the Oregon representative group, and then different organizations, including Department of Ed. There was a wide range of places they visited. And it was interesting, he came back more positive, and said, definitely gonna be big shakeups at the Department of Ed, but that their message to this group that was there was that the revenue streams for these primary grants, Title I, Title II, Title IV, they don't expect to change. We get around $500,000 in Title I. That helps us purchase a Title I teacher. Title I is a program that supports, goes to schools that have a certain poverty level. Ours is focused at elementary to improve writing and reading. So we have maybe 3 or 4 aides at each school and a teacher that do small groups with kids all day long. We've already heard our Title I allocation is gonna probably be reduced by about $30,000. But if that whole $500,000 went away, it would be a problem for us. Our structure would look differently. We would no longer have, we're not gonna be able to find $500,000 in our budget to say we're gonna keep that going. So all of the things that happens within the title program, which is primarily small group instruction, groups of 3 or 4, focusing on math and reading, would go away. We'd be laying off folks if that grant.
All right, this is a historical chart of our general fund revenue, expenditures, and end fund balances. 1920 all the way up to 23-24 are actuals, and the 24-25 is a projected, as well as 25-26 is estimated proposed for the budget. Both 24-25 and 25-26 are assuming an underspending of 3% of our operating expenditures. So that's just kind of how we always base our numbers off of. That could come in higher or lower. Last year, we underspent by 5.12% instead of 3%. So our ending fund balance, came in a little higher than we projected. Just so you have an idea, for this year, every 1% we underspend, it's about $190,000 more that gets added to the ending fund balance. Okay, this is our early retirement fund. We currently no longer have licensed employees in this. We only have 5 current classified employees in the early retirement program. We have 5 still eligible. And then we have estimated remaining liability for this, all 10 of $697,808. The last year the benefits are paid for this program is in 2031. And this can fluctuate a lot too, because sometimes employees decide to work up until they're 65, which at that point they're no longer eligible for it. So, but this is what we have to go off of right now. Just so you know, this was implemented back in 2006. That's when the district started putting money into this fund to for the program, and we put just over $10 million in there since then to fund it. It's a good thing it's coming to a close. Yes, we do not have any plans to put any more money in there from here.
Next, we can see we have, our balance in there is currently 1.9. We only have, even if everybody availed themselves to this at the earliest point they can retire. And what early retirement is, so you know, something bargained a long time ago, long before Quan and I were here, negotiated in a collective bargaining agreement, like we're just doing now with teachers, that said, you know, I'm sure it was some give and take on COLAs. Okay, we're gonna institute this new early retirement program. What that means is when I retire from PERS, retire from the district, if I do that before I'm 65, let's say I retire as a teacher at 60, that we're gonna give them a certain amount of money towards their health insurance cap until they're 65. So that's the benefit that those employees received. All the teachers, they have this. All those teachers now are either retired, or the one teacher that's still with us is already 65. On the classified side, we still have 5 people getting paid the stipend, so they're not yet 65, and 5 more that are still working for us. If those 5 that are still working for us work till they're 65, then they won't, you know, get anything. Yeah, so the balance of the money in here, we kind of call this our early retirement / PERS reserve, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Some of those funds are.
Right, some of the money in there, in years when we've had extra money, we've decided to save some in here, anticipating years like this when our PERS rates are going to go up. So one of the things we'll get further into the next time we meet as the budget gets more prepared is we're going to use some of this money that's in here, because as you can see, we only have $700,000 liability, got 1.9 in there. For the next few years, I'm going to draw down on this that we've been saving for just this PERS event.
Other school districts did the same thing back in those days, but I don't think there's anything
They're all
offer that now.
sunsetted
They're all
now, yeah.
sunsetted, yeah.
Yeah.
What you need or anything.
Okay, so the next step is preparing the budget and making sure we're aligning the resources to meet student needs, estimating expenditures based on enrollment and staffing levels, and of course, maintain financial stability. The next meeting is on Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30, same place. Looks like the 14th is when I anticipate having the budget document ready. I will email it out. It'll also be posted on the website, but if you'd like a hard copy, just reach out to me and I can print one out. Yeah, I used to print them all out and then they just didn't get used and I felt like that was super wasteful. So just send me an email, no problem at all to print them out though.
And know that, you know, it always strikes me as funny, we say we have this meeting and now tomorrow, Quanta's gonna start preparing the budget. Know that we've been preparing probably since last July. We've started, you know, really in January, going full speed, if not every week, every day, we're spending some time on this, so it isn't like, okay, let's start working on this tomorrow.
No.
It's, you know, it's
now just
90%
like,
done.
okay, now I can start putting it together in a document. Yeah. And then written comments received by 5 p.m. on May 19th will be read into the recording at the meeting. So the public can do that, the committee.
We'll do some parent square posts on that.
Yeah.
Some website stuff, because once the document's done,
And
putting it on the website.
And it's hugely beneficial if you can, I mean, if you have questions in the meeting, that's totally fine. But if you have questions that come up beforehand, to send them to Gary and I, so I can do my best to answer them versus in the meeting going, I'm gonna have to get back to you, because I don't have that with me, or I need to, a lot of times it takes some work to look into and.
Don't worry about asking questions. Tori has the record at 34.
No, 50,
Uh,
51. 51.
Right.
Send her away.
Yeah.
I saw Mark's eyes roll when I said, I have 51 questions. Above me.
I get paid the same anyway, being here.
Yeah, really.
Does anybody have anything else?
Any questions?
No, concerns?
All
Okay,
right,
I
we'll
think
see you May 20th.
adjourn the meeting until May 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw the scoreboard was going on the 5th before I left.
It's not working anymore.
It's not working. What happened?
It's working.
Well,